Hi, everyone, and welcome to Acadicus. My name is Dr. Nick Slayman. I'm a pediatric intensivist at the Duke Hospital for Children in Wilmington, Delaware. Today, we're going to go over the wound stapling and wound management instructional. As you can see, we have a patient here laying on the gurney with an abdominal wound. As always, we want to make sure before the procedure, we've done all our personal care, washed our hands, worn gloves, made sure we have our personal protective equipment on, and we do. And from here, we're going to start with making sure that the wound itself is clean. This is a knife wound. Those are fairly clean and sharp. Sometimes there can be dirt in the wound, so we always want to take some sterile saline or sterile water, and we want to make sure that we irrigate the wound and make sure that we get rid of any visible debris that may be in the wound, make it be as clean as possible right from the start. Once we've irrigated the wound and we have it cleaned, we're going to take our chlorhexidine swab, and if we crack the wings on the chlorhexidine swab, you'll see that the chlorhexidine in the center of the stick will start to come out. It's kind of an orange color, and we're going to then chlorhexidine applicate the wound. We want to start from the center, and we want to move outward in concentric circles. We want to try not to get chlorhexidine into the fresh part of the wound itself, but we want to make sure that we sterilize a wide area, again, starting in the center and moving in concentric circles outward. Next, we can drape our wound so that we have a nice sterile work surface. I'd like to move our sterile gauze onto the field in case we need it, if there's any bleeding or any extra fluid. And then next, we're going to make sure that we have good anesthesia for our patient so that they're not having a lot of pain while we do this procedure, which can be a little bit painful. So we're going to put our syringe into our lidocaine solution, our buffered lidocaine, draw some up. And then we're going to walk along the edges of the wound, infiltrating and injecting our lidocaine, our buffered lidocaine solution, so that they get good anesthetic. Finally, to close our wound, we're going to use a standard skin stapler, and it's important that you have an assistant that's going to help you by approximating the edges of the wound as you walk along the wound with your stapler applying the staples. We don't want to apply too much pressure. We don't want to push too far down because that can cause ischemia to the skin and cause further damage if the staples go too deep. So we want to be semi-superficial, not too much pressure, and again, have that assistant using the tweezers pull the edges of the wound together as we go. All right, so we're going to start at the top part of the wound. Apply our staples. We're walking down with good spacing, making sure that we have good wound closure as we go. And again, my assistant is staying a millimeter or two in front of me, pulling the wound together, and as we get towards the end, we have good closure. After the staples are applied, the final steps of this procedure is that you can get an antibiotic ointment and apply that in a thin layer along the staple line. You can cover it with a gauze and a bandage, or you cover it with a Tegaderm type bandage. The timing of standard staple removal when the wound is fully healed, for the extremities and torso, like this example, it's usually 7 to 10 days. The scalp, the back, or joints, areas that are a little more flexible, you want to let that go a little longer, get better wound approximation and tissue healing, and that's usually 10 days to 14 days before the staple should be removed. So at this point, you've seen our demonstration of how to close a wound with stapling. You can use Acadicus to perform these steps yourself and do them as many times as you like. Thanks for joining us today.